Hello and welcome to Matthew Reads, I guess. Now, I remember reading Jay's Gay Agenda, which was also by Jason June, towards like the end of 2021. So, I was pretty surprised when Out of the Blue, which I'm talking about today.
Like, what do they
get
say?
called white man's whore.
I was pretty surprised when like Out of the Blue came out so soon, but like now that I think about it for like half a second, I do wonder, did it come out that quickly, or was it just the fact that I didn't read Jay's Gay Agenda until like after a while after it came out? I mean, that is more likely the case, but to me the two books just feel like really close together and I don't know why. Still, that being said, the blurb says that Crest isn't excited to be on their journey, the month-long sojourn on land all teen merfolk must undergo. The gig is basically they have to help a human on land within one moon cycle, just honestly pretty much with anything, and then they can return to where they came from. However, if they fail, they get stuck on land forever. Crest wants to get their journey over and done with because humans are disgusting. Then, in LA, Crest has a new name and meets Sean, a lifeguard whose boyfriend has recently dumped him. So basically, Crest is helping Sean make his ex jealous. And because of that, it's very much setting up fake dating. However, one of them is on land, one of them is, merfolk. So your conflict is very much set up there from the outset. I feel like with fake dating, the concept is always the same, like, they're gonna catch feelings for each other. But with Out of the Blue, there is the extra layer of one of them is, merfolk, and inevitably has to leave at the end of it. Now, just in general, I am begging for books to, number their chapters. Like, fair enough with, like, a dual POV, you can, like, depending on, like, whether you title your chapters with, like, whose POV it is, this book does that. I'll give it that point where, Kings of Beemore that I read recently did not, and it was dual POV, and it just left you to fend for yourself as to who was speaking. Wild. Still, yeah, that was that point. I just want books to, like, have I don't know why, but I feel like with numbered chapters, I feel like I'm making progress, if that makes sense, when I read. It gives me, like, a pointless sense of accomplishment that I don't technically need, but I enjoy having. Still, I mean, the first chapter starts with Sean, Mr. Lifeguard Boy. He is working at the club, shockingly as a lifeguard that he works at. I just said works at like 3 times, you're welcome. And we physically see him get dumped by his boyfriend, turned ex-boyfriend Dominic. And now let me tell you, as someone who has been dumped, there's very much the case of there's a right time and a place to, like, break up with someone. And, like, the way Dominic did it, to Sean, like, right in the middle of Sean's shift at work, Miss Ma'am, the time and the place was not ideal. And you know what? Dominic was very much in the wrong for that. Like, it's very much homeboy couldn't have waited, a few hours. But, regardless, Sean's best friend / co-worker, Caviar, she then literally chases Dominic out of the club, which was kind of a slay, I won't lie. And then, you also find out that Sean does love a rom-com thanks to his dad. And then Crest's first chapter, that does introduce us to the concept of the journey, like, what happens of helping the human. And then, I don't remember the character's name, it was like Kelp, I believe, tells, Crest that their human name is now Ross, and that only one merfolk in the last 100 years had, like, chosen to stay on land instead of returning to the sea. So very much that. And I mean, I will say I definitely did have questions, like, at the end of those chapters that I, like, really wanted the answers to. And, like, I have written them down on my notes. Most of them had to do with, like, what happened when merfolk went on land. Things like, since they have to, be there for a month, do they eat like normal? Do they get clothes? Is it like a Terminator kind of deal where they just get, like, zapped into the world just completely naked and they have to find their own clothes? Or was it like that? Are they just homeless? Like, fully, I had questions, like, just all about that. Crest / Ross, they then meet Sean after Crest washes up on the beach, and we learn of this, like, rule that, like, merfolk can't / shouldn't get wet in front of humans, because, like, then their fins appear, and, it's very much, Clear nor the condensation, it's very much one of those vibes. Also, if merfolk end up going in the ocean before their month is over. But I believe they said it was like, in the book it was described as like something to do with like a lunar cycle, I believe. And like if they went in the ocean before like they were meant to, they get essentially are forcibly stuck on land as human. And what I will say, in these first few chapters, Crest is just so dog shit at being a human, and it was so fun to read. Like, obviously because underwater they don't have concepts of roads, like, so they didn't know how to cross a road. They didn't understand basic human concepts like getting broken up with, getting dumped. And you know, I will say some of the questions obviously that I had at the beginning of this point, like, do they get clothes, are they homeless, whatever, yada yada yada, they do get answered very quickly, which I was also very happy about. And you know, given the cover of the book, as you can see here, I did assume that Sean was going to find out that Crest/Ross was merfolk at some point. And you know, in terms of minor spoilers, Sean does find that out, but I will say the reveal didn't happen, like, in the way that I assumed it would do. It was one of those things that, like, I knew it was going to happen eventually, or that it was likely going to happen, but, like, going into reading the book, I assumed it would have probably happened maybe like right at the end of the book. But you know, how it actually happened, I'm not going to say how it happened because that I don't want to spoil, but like how it happened wasn't how I thought it would happen. And you know, to stay on the train of thought of things like sort of not happening how I thought they would in this book, like given, you know, the vibe of this book, given that it's fake dating, I assumed that I knew what was going to happen. Like, and I also assumed that it was going to be just, like, straight up fake dating. That is all that there was going to be, like, going on in the book. But, you know, given that Crest/Ross is merfolk, you know, trying to basically survive on land for a month, that also wasn't the only thing going on, which I very much appreciated. Like, this book, like, made use of its space well, which is obviously, like, if you saw my video about Kings of Beemore, you would know that I don't feel like every book uses its space well. And you know, I will say, there was also like a really small cast of characters in this book, like outside of Sean and Ross, the only characters that, you know, make any major impact pretty much are like Kavia and her mothers, and then Sean's ex Dominic and Sean's ex best friend / Dominic's new boyfriend Miguel. Like, they are the only ones that, like, full, excuse the pun, make a splash. And to be honest, again, that is something I was also a really big fan of, because this is just because personally for me, like, I prefer like smaller casts in books, and like I've noticed when I write, you know, creatively for myself, I also tend to lean towards smaller casts, just because I feel like with a smaller cast, like every character has the chance to get like the page time they deserve, and like, you know, with larger casts they don't always get that. And personally for me, if I'm writing like a large cast, I don't always know what to do with everyone. And because of that, like, I feel like some of the characters would end up getting lost. But thankfully, you know, that was not the case in this book. And now, like I said, unless the book is, like, a little bit older, I don't spoil things. So, you know, again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm going to quote Bob the Drag Queen to talk about the last 100 pages of this book. And what I'm going to have to say about this is that this is wild, or was wild. Like, in terms of the ending, you know, the book had itself set up pretty well. Like, it set itself up and the rules of the world, again, were well set up. So I assumed what the ending was going to be, like, from all the setup. And I will say my assumption did end up being correct. And, you know, because of that, I guess didn't really leave me with room to be disappointed in terms of what would actually happen, just only with how it would happen, if that makes sense. And while I did see the end coming, which to me isn't a bad thing, I am personally not bothered about predictability in books. The way it got to its ending, that was the wild part. Like, The last 50 pages of this book, they had me, snatched, gagged, gooped, and pooped, very much that. There's this one Tumblr image of, like, this children's toy called Fashion Rats, and it's literally just like a rat. And then there's a zoomed in part of the image that says includes wig, and then the one comment on this post is, in regards to that includes wig bit, and it says, thank God because I just lost mine.
She's huge, but she's so beautiful.
And to be honest, that is exactly how I feel about this book. Like, I really enjoyed Out of the Blue, and I'm fully saying this now, this is going to be included on my, like, top books of 2022. This is one of those books, it didn't reinvent the wheel in terms of concept, because, like, the major concept was fake dating, but, like, it made a really solid version of the wheel by, like, adding the merfolk aspect, and kind of outsold the original wheel, I'm not gonna lie. So, yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave it for this video. Feel free to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe if you would very much like to. Let me know in the comments, have you read Out of the Blue? Are you going to read Out of the Blue? And also by Jason June, have you read Jay's Gay Agenda? If you've read either of those, let me know what you think in the comments, and also let me know what's your fake date, your favourite fake dating book if you've got one. Do you even like the trope? But yeah, that's it for this video. Okay, bye.